Hey everyone, welcome to the latest episode of Tech Bytes Takeover, or as I like to call it, Between Two Geese. Now, before we really jump into the show, Matt, I think people might want to know why we're actually calling it Between Two Geese. It's been something we've been calling it for a while, and really it comes down to the fact that Matt and I are both Canadian. And so there's a lot of Canadian geese up here. I got the nickname Goose here when I started at Veeam not that long ago. We just kind of rolled with it, and it's been a lot of fun since there. Matt, why don't you introduce yourself and tell folks what we're going to show them today?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tyler. So my name's Matt Crape. I work alongside Tyler here. We're both senior technical product marketing managers here at Veeam, and we're here to talk to you about some of the great stuff that we're delivering with Veeam Data Platform. So what are we talking about today? Well, we're going to talk about 3 opportunities in V13 that unlocks our security architecture. We're going to talk about 2 new hypervisor plugins, one of which is a brand new platform that we support. We're going to address 1 question from the community, and we hope to leave you with 0 regrets for tuning in. So, Tyler, why don't you kick us off, right? What we talked about, there's a new plugin that's being released. It was released on Monday. Tell us all about it.
Absolutely, Matt. So here we are looking to talk about a little bit about HPE Morpheus VM Essentials. And really what that comes down to is just an additional platform that we have protection to offer you within the Veeam Data Platform. So as you can see here, we've got the HPE Morpheus VM Essentials there. It's a great new hypervisor by HPE, and now we've got that full support for it now. We've had that in a beta for a while, and it just got released 2 days ago, Matt, right? So it's fresh, hot off the presses. And really, what does that look like for that architecture itself? So we've got that HPE VM Essentials hypervisor, that HVM hypervisor here, and you can run your VMs, you can run your workloads, all that kind of stuff there. The data uses that Veeam Data Mover that we all know and love. We've been using it for a long time. You can drop that into whatever backup repository you want, on-premises repositories or a cloud repository such as Veeam Data Cloud Vault for that 32110 supportability. Really, Matt, what do we all get when we integrate with HPE VM Essentials?
Well, that's what I really love about this solution is, as whether you're a backup min, whether you're IT director, it doesn't really matter what role you have. At the end of the day, if you've opted to go for this hypervisor, there's a certain standard set of resources, a certain standard set of features, capabilities that you need in order to make sure that you can actually recover from disaster. So some of these things, maybe they seem like they're table stakes, but guess what? Not every solution out there may actually have these. So what are we delivering with this first iteration of the plugin? So you get that change block tracking that, frankly, a lot of people have taken for granted, right? With the advent of VMware and their CPT solution, it really changed the way that backups were performed. And Veeam was absolutely a pioneer at that. It's really what unlocks that fast, that efficient backup solution. And of course, we've got a lot of the other capabilities that you would expect. Obviously the ability to fully restore a VM back to wherever it was. But you also got the ability to have that granular recovery. You don't always want to have to restore a complete VM if you just need a handful of files. So being able to back something up and pull out just what you need, that's absolutely key. Now, one thing that I'm actually really excited about with this is the application-aware backups, because as more and more organizations are looking at shifting their workloads to various hypervisors, in this case, HPE VM Essentials, there's going to be a lot of critical workloads that are going with that, whether it's things like Active Directory or other databases. Being able to have those application-aware backups is absolutely key. It's a way to ensure that you're able to protect that database, the application, in a safe manner, and also unlock some capabilities as far as recovering safely. And lastly, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about cross-hypervisor recovery. I mean, that's something that Veeam has been doing for years now, decades even, allowing you to actually take your data and restore it to a different platform. And we'll actually hop into that a little bit here further. But Tyler, anything to add?
No, Matt, you've hit the nail on the head with all those features, and I can't belabor the point enough about that cross-hypervisor recovery. How incredible that is if you are looking at, migrating your workloads and just shifting gears. And we know this ever-changing landscape we have here around the different hypervisor offerings out there gives you that flexibility to use Veeam to say, do I want to try hypervisor platform A today and maybe hypervisor platform B tomorrow? You have that flexibility there. So I want to call out, if it is your first time joining, please drop a hi into the chat. If you want to see more, you want to see something we're going to show you, please reach out. Drop us a comment. Matt and I are here live for you. So please, we love that interaction. We love you guys reaching out and talking to us here. But Matt, should we show people a little bit of this? Should we jump into the lab?
Yeah, absolutely. But before we do that, we've actually got a question coming in from Daniel. He's wondering, can the VME plugin do instant VM recovery right now?
So Matt, not right now can we do that instant VM recovery for that HPE VME. But here, let me show you what you have with your backups today. So we're in the lab. This is something we have running. So you can instant recover that back to vSphere, Hyper-V, and Nutanix, but you can restore that VM to any different platform you have here connected to your environment. So whether you are moving, doing a restore back to VM Essentials, doing that recovery to Nutanix, or wherever you choose to have that recovery option for you, whether you want to move it to the cloud or whatnot, right? So there are multiple different options. Yes, we do have that instant VM recovery to the three main hypervisor platforms we support today. So yeah, what else are we going to show people here about HPE VM Essentials, Matt? Let's walk through. Should we walk through a bit of a recovery from maybe a VM here that we have in Vault?
Yeah.
I think that might be a good
absolutely.
idea.
I mean, what's the point in having a backup if you can't actually recover it, right? So as you're queuing that up, I want those watching this to pay attention. This is a very similar workflow to what you're used to today as a Veeam customer. So it's not about learning a brand new tool or anything like that. It's really about, hey, you know what? If you decided to make a shift to a different hypervisor, this is one less thing that you need to worry about. You know that you've got your support, you know that you've got your backups that you can actually bring with you. And lastly, it's not like you need to learn another brand new tool. So you're able to leverage what you already have in place.
Absolutely, Matt. So as we're going through here, you can see just been walking through the wizard here. You can pick your name, you can pick your storage, pick your cluster. It's all really straightforward. I was super impressed with what our team was able to deliver with this version 1 integration with HPE Morpheus. So we're going to click through here. We're going to hit finish. And now we have a VM that is going to start the recovery process right from Veeam Data Cloud Vault right back to that HPE Morpheus. So here it looks like we have a comment from Juan. Juan, great to see you. Hi, thanks for joining. So let's see what this actually looks like in our Morpheus dashboard. We've got this here. You can see we've got, I'll give it a quick refresh. I've got the one VM that I had migrated yesterday. The other VM is still working. We can see that here where it's currently working through the workers that we've got in Morpheus already. So you can see we've got this worker there. And when we're looking at our cluster, our compute, let's drive over to here. We just did a single node HPE VM Essentials cluster. So it's got our IP and all that. You can see the different virtual machines we've got running on there. We've got a test VM, we've got our worker node, and we've got that migrated VM that I did in the lab just yesterday. And if we want to provision something, in case you are curious about just seeing a little bit more of this, there are so many options for provisioning. You can choose different VM options here different HVM virtual machines, KVM, Oracle, Linux, SUSE. You got all these different options. You can see there's a lot here. You got your Windows. So everything that a virtualization admin is probably looking for, you have here. I want to show that because when we have the VMs, we're really looking at how can we protect them after the fact. So when we jump back over here to our console, I ran out of capacity on my, it's a lab. I didn't have a big system here to show it, but I should have deleted that recovery I did yesterday, Matt. Ugh.
Well, that's such as life of the backup admin, right? So, one thing that I really appreciated about seeing this is I haven't actually really seen much in the way of HPE VME before. Tyler, you've been kind of running with this internally, but I'd also be curious to know from those of you watching, have you started playing with it yet? Have you maybe started migrating to it yet? We'd love to hear some thoughts and feedback around that. What's the experience been for you? And ideally, what's the experience been with the Veeam plugin that we just released this week?
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely love to hear people's thoughts. What hypervisor are you migrating to? Does HPE really fit the needs of your organization? Let us know. So, as we jump back here, I'm going to show you a little bit of the backup job because we have a couple VMs on there. We're going to walk through the backup job itself. And as Matt said earlier, really want you to see that it's not any different for what you are looking for, what you've liked, what you've done before in the past. And you can back it up with a tag or a label. You can back it up with just the VM itself. So I'll grab this VM that I had recovered. And that's really key here. Like Veeam, you can use it to recover your VMs to different platforms. But that day two protection is really what you're after, right? You want to make sure that you have that resilience going forward.
So, Tyler, some of the feedback that we're seeing live here is it's a little hard to read the console. Do you by chance have the Zoom It tool going on there?
Oh, thank you for calling that out, Matt. Yes, I do. Let's zoom in here so you can see with the repositories for options I have. We have that same normal repository options. Let me zoom out so I can show a bit of that. And you can see here we have the different vault options, our hardened repository that we've already got added here. We've got different object storage options here. This is all what we have in our lab. Your production environment may look a little different, but you can see it's not really any different than what we've had before. Configure our GFS settings here. Again, these are straightforward backup options that you have known and loved your entire time with Veeam.
Yeah. So there's another question coming in from Daniel here. Can the VME plugin do replication jobs from one VME host to another VME host?
So that is not an option we have today in version 1 of our HPE plugin, but it is always highly recommended feature. We hear that for a bunch of the different hypervisors. I don't know if or when we'll have that on the roadmap, but I highly recommend, Daniel, that you reach out to your Veeam team and tell them that is something you are looking for. We're happy to take your feedback and happy to push it through.
Now, another avenue for that as well is you can actually go to the Veeam R&D forums, so forums.veeam.com. And if you think you have a great use case for it there, plug it in, pop in a post. Our PM team will actually go there and they go through and regularly look at these things. So provide some detail around what it is you're trying to achieve, rather than just saying the typical, +1, I would love this feature. So that's one of the things I've always loved about Veeam R&D is that they actually go out there and they communicate directly with customers. So if you have ideas, if you have thoughts, by all means, go to that Veeam's forums, forums.veeam.com, and share those thoughts.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough about those R&D forums with Veeam. It's kind of how I grew up with Veeam. I jumped into those R&D forums. I gave my feedback, but more so I learned a ton from the other people in the community, just trying to figure out how to best utilize Veeam. There's a lot of great questions, a lot of great feedback from our PM team.
Yep. And got another question here from Stanley. And by the way, I love all the questions coming in, just proof that we're doing this live. Is this a type 1 or a type 2 hypervisor? This is a type 1 hypervisor. It can be installed on bare metal. In this case, correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler, I think we actually have it nested in the lab just due to resource constraints. But it is absolutely a type 1 hypervisor.
Yeah, the install experience is really straightforward. You deploy your flavor of Linux, whatever you want to deploy, and then you run the hypervisor installation on top of it. So really pretty straightforward. But yes, definitely a type 1 hypervisor. So Matt, what else were we going to show here today?
Well, the other exciting news is this wasn't the only hypervisor plugin that we actually released this week. So this week we actually released the new Scale Computing 3.0 plugin. So what does this actually unlock? Well, once again, it goes back to we're able to actually process some of that guest indexing for from the configuration jobs for backups. What does that actually unlock? It gives us the ability to start performing some of those malware scans. So we're able to look for known threats. We're able to start doing things like, hey, this file seems suspicious. This is a known ransomware note. We're able to start pulling that information from those Scale HyperCore backups. And lastly, application item restore support. So I mentioned that earlier for the HPE VME stuff. Being able to actually have application level support is a huge deal when it comes to protecting your enterprise. So that will now be available in the latest plugin. You can actually grab that from my.veeam.com, so you can log into your account. You can pull it down there. We should have a KB. If it's not updated, it should be updated shortly with the new release builds, but that's fresh off the press. There is one note there that I want to call out. It does require HyperCore 9.6. So if you're running on an older version, you won't necessarily see the new functionality in there. So just pay attention to that as it comes to actually installing this and getting up to speed on it. So 2 new announcements for hypervisor support this week, right? With lots more coming in the future. For those of you who are watching us right now, like, what's your hypervisor of choice today? We know things are always changing. Some folks maybe been on the same platform for years and you plan on staying there. Maybe you're looking at shifting. Let's face it, there's lots of things always going on in the industry, whether it's a matter of shifting hypervisors. Maybe you're looking at going to cloud. Drop a note in there. We would love to hear the feedback because we always want to make sure whatever content we're delivering, it's relevant to what you're actually trying to do today. So making sure that we know what is going on, what your thoughts are, what your questions are, it really helps us to decide what is that we actually want to share today. So Tyler, why don't we shift gears a little bit? I mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to talk about 3 ways that V13 kind of opens up the opportunity to think about how is your security actually architected today. So why don't we start with this? It started off with, hey, we saw this post on Reddit about somebody trying to add Veeam 1, and it came back to, there's this issue with service accounts, which service accounts are great, but how do you handle them with multi-factor authentication? And sort of spun into, there's 3 opportunities that we identified that we thought we could cover in the few minutes that we have here to actually start going through and give you some food for thought. So, the first thing that we want to mention, as I talked about there, was the ability to leverage service accounts. What does that mean? You know what, Tyler, why don't you explain, when would somebody use a service account and what for?
Absolutely. So there's so many different ways of integrating with the Veeam data platform, but if you're going to use a service account, maybe you want to use a service account for some monitoring. You want to attach Veeam 1 to your environment, right? You want to get that monitoring analytics. So with the Veeam software appliance, there's a lot of really integrated ways of doing that is highly secure, right? But maybe you're still on that Windows version of the Veeam backup or replication, and you need to be able to create a service account there. So within your Veeam console, here you go into your roles, your users and roles. We'll bring that up, and as you can see here, I've got Goose as a service. So we're going to use that as our service account. But let's say you've got multi-factor authentication enabled. That really can throw a bit of a kink into your service account functionality, because when your third-party service is using that user account to pull the Veeam backup replication, that service account doesn't know to generate and throw an MFA code, right? It's
But
that
you know what?
handshake process.
One challenge I see with this situation right now. I can't
Hmm.
see what you're doing. I need some zoom it, buddy.
Oh, oh man, thank you for that. I'm so busy just hearing myself talk that I am not going in here and showing people what they can do. So here, as you can see here with my Goose as a service account, we've got MFA enabled. I'm going to show you how you can disable that here for that service account to make sure that you can bypass that MFA requirement for only the accounts that are really critical in your environment here. So you check off that one box there for this is a service account, and that allows you to still keep that MFA, keep that security while using the service accounts to pull the data from your Veeam data platform. So
Now,
that's
the
go ahead,
the
Matt.
interesting thing about this, right, is so when you're building a service account, it's best practices to make sure it actually has the least privileges that it requires. So you don't want to just be tossing in an admin account and then disabling MFA on it. But at the same time, you're able to toss in a very purpose-built account and restrict it specifically to the permissions that it needs, which is really where that value starts to come in. It's about really closing down, the area of responsibility, the scope, the impact that a compromised account could have. When you start leveraging this with things, for example, like group managed service accounts that we saw introduced, supported, I think it was in 12.1, it really starts to paint the picture of you can have these things automatically rotate their passwords at scale. So you're really able to architect this very secure environment. Tyler, I see you're clicking around on things here. What do you got cooking?
So I want to show a bit of that art back, because as you're telling people about, hey, how can you really shrink that to the least privileged access, this is where it comes into creating your own customized RBAC role to only show what you need to show to whatever service account or whatever user you want to have here. So I was walking through a bit of the wizard while you were doing that to show that you can have your role-based access controls limited to only what you want to show. And we won't go through the whole thing here. I think we just don't have enough time to show every little feature that we want to show. But this is a great way of creating that custom defined role and using it for exactly what you want to use it for. So here we go. Just if
Now,
you want to edit the role, you can go, what else do you want to say there, Matt?
well, let's go say folks who have seen us do the show in the past and talk specifically about V13 and the Veeam software appliance. They probably know one of your favorite features is Veeam Updater. And maybe give the short answer as to why you love it so much before we jump into this next part here.
Absolutely. So the Veeam Updater, I love it because as somebody who's worked in operations for many years, I wasn't a huge fan of waking up at 3 in the morning to patch my servers. But with that Veeam Updater, you can keep everything patched automatically on a regular cadence at the time and date you want to patch it here. So I'll show you here quickly. In our managed servers, we have some updates available. This is very important. We've got a new update out just today. So go and check your servers, go get them updated. But what can we do with that updater here? You can see we have the different options and you can see what comes out, and then you can dive into the what's new with it, which is a huge feature for me because every time I see a new update out, I'm going, great, but what does it do? What is this feature? What is this update all about here? So you can see all the different details here of the update itself.
So the interesting thing here is, okay, so this is a pretty cool feature from the security perspective, but it also gives us a unique opportunity. Tyler, how can we handle, for example, a dark site? Maybe we have a site that isn't connected for internet connectivity. Maybe there's some data sovereignty issues there, right? Maybe it's supply chain sovereignty. We want to ensure that a manual step is involved before updates are actually downloaded. We want to verify where they're from. Maybe there's some strict data residency issues at play where we want to make sure that these updates are actually hosted locally. Or the other use case I've heard quite often is just even compliance and audit, proving that there's data flows in place, proving that someone's actually gone out there, verified these updates, move them somewhere else to ensure that only these updates are applied. What's the solution for that?
Absolutely. So we've got a couple different ways you can handle that. My favorite way of doing that is building your own local repository. And this isn't reinventing the wheel. This is something that you've been able to do within Linux servers for many years. You can build your own repository, mirror what is presented officially from Veeam into your own repository. So you can build your repository in a dark site, you can build a repository in, an online connected site, and then present that to your dark site Veeam backup replication servers here. So I want to quickly show a couple different articles here. We've got one here from Pete Steven where he shows how to create it with a Linux repository, but there's a lot of people out there that are still fans of using Windows because, hey, if it works, it works. And you can also do that with an IIS server here. What does that look like in product itself? You're going, okay, that's great, Tyler. You talk a lot, but what can you show me here, right? See, here within your mirror repository, you can choose the certificate you want. Let me zoom in because I keep forgetting that part, but you can choose the certificate you want here. You can put in your repository URL that is local to you. As long as your Veeam backup replication server can see it, you can point to it, and away you go for all those repository options. I said there's a couple different options. You can also use an internet proxy here, as you can see there as well. So there are ways for you to go through a proxy system if you have that, or use your own local mirror repository.
Yeah, so I was going to say it's a really neat feature for, I don't even want to call it niche cases anymore. I mean, everyone is very sensitive about where their data is coming from, where they're pulling it from, where it's being hosted. So it's a great feature that we want to make sure that we highlight as folks become more and more aware of these things, as compliance controls become stricter and so forth. So it's a fantastic feature. Now, the last feature that I kind of want to walk through here, you kind of teased out a little bit at the beginning there, was what we've done around enhanced role-based access controls. You could tie it into SAML for single sign-on. We've got all sorts of 4eyes authorization built in, lots of different things that we could do here. But what's really neat is when you start piecing this together. So being able to restrict actions, being able to restrict who can see what, obviously that's important. But it goes beyond just, who could perform what. It's also about how do you ensure that your backup stays safe. So where I'm going with this is, we've got the Veeam Vault directly integrated into the interface here. Why is this important? Well, it's more than just encrypted, trusted, immutable backup, right? It's stored in the cloud in Veeam. How does that differ from something that you might have on-prem? Maybe you've got immutability already on-prem. Well, the big difference here is you've got that logical air gap. So this will prevent someone from, say, you have an angry storage admin walk into a data center, right, with an axe. They could go there, they could destroy that storage array. Maybe that is, a little bit, on the far-fetched end, but you can have pipes burst, you can have natural disasters. The point that I'm getting at is if you've got this in a data center somewhere, if someone can actually touch it, it doesn't matter if the system's immutable. If somebody could destroy that system, or if that system gets destroyed, your data's gone as well. And that's really where something like Vault comes in. So we're able to apply restrictions around who can actually access it, what you could do with it. But more so than that, you've got that separation. It's no longer prone to those same disasters that might strike your data center on-prem. Tyler, I see you've got some charts up here. What are we looking at?
Right. So as we're talking about Vault, I figured some of our viewers might actually want to see what that looks like from that cloud portal. So we've got the Veeam Data Cloud Vault right up here on screen. You can see we've got a storage vault already in use. our Goose Vault here is available for our VBR. We've got that attached. You can see that here in the if we jump back into our console here, into our web UI, we can see you've got that vault. But what does that look like from the back end when you're over here looking at your capacity? Can you see your storage usage? Can you see how much is being brought down? How much is being put up into your vault? What that looks like over time as well is an incredibly great tool for you to be able to manage your data workload and manage what is going on with your environment itself. So I want to jump through a bit of this because I don't think we've ever shown this live on air before, Matt, and I want to be able to bring the folks along with us on our journey today. So if there is anything out there, I will call out to you guys again. If you have any questions, if you want to see anything, if you have any ideas, of what you would like to see on the show next, please drop us a comment. We love to hear from you. That is why we do this, Matt. We want to talk to the people out there today.
Absolutely. So let's wrap things up here. I know we're running tight on time, but we want to make sure that we addressed one question that we saw in the wild here. We saw it on Reddit. If you've watched the show a few times, you probably know sometimes we go out there and we try to answer questions that we see in the wild. And we thought, this is pretty relevant to the whole V13 upgrade chat that we just had, right? Why would you want to upgrade to V13? This is some good information to know. So this person was trying to upgrade from 12 to 13 and it was failing, right? What was the result? We've got the error message there on the screen. It fails at the upgrading the database. Tyler, do you know why this was failing? Are you able to give us the answer behind that and what tips somebody watching this could walk away with?
Well, my suggestion, if you are looking to upgrade to V13, personally, if it was me, I would do that migration to Postgres first. I'd do that on 12. We've had that available for many years now with the previous versions. So get over to that Postgres database now. Then once you're up to that Postgres database, because this guy's challenge is he is using an old SQL Express that isn't available in V13. We've moved our requirements up a notch there. So his challenge was that his old SQL Express, if he tried to upgrade initially, is going to fail because the requirements there. And this is really something that I have learned over my years in operations is check your requirements, check your prereqs. Because whenever you're going through an upgrade, whether you're upgrading Veeam, whether you're upgrading any other software, you need to know, does this work with the other tools in your environment itself? So it's a great learning opportunity for you if you are hands-on keyboard kind of folk to get in there and just learn the different prereqs. So this guy got sidetracked by that, but I would suggest you go through, you upgrade to that Postgres, you migrate to that Postgres database, then you do that upgrade to your latest version of Veeam, which is Veeam 13, and we got a new patch release out today for that as well. Anything else you want to call out here on this, Matt?
Yeah, we're going to share out the documentation as far as what the steps are, but basically, yes, make sure that you upgrade your database before you actually move to V13. It's easier, or it's the supported way, upgrade it or migrate it when you're on V12, then make the move to V13. We've also got, a fantastic resource. If you're not familiar with Rick Vanover's Upgrade Center, he's always sharing that out. You could just Google that if you don't have the link handy. He's got a tremendous list of resources available there as far as what you should be doing when you're considering upgrading. He tends to keep it fairly up to date, so lots of great info there. Aside from that, I don't think I have much else to share today. Tyler, anything else from your end?
Oh, Matt, is that an invitation for me to keep going through demos for the next 26 hours? Because I will. I'm here for it. But unfortunately, I don't think we'll have that opportunity today. But please, again, drop links in the comments. Tell us what you want to see next. Is there something that is a burning desire for you to have the geese here present to you live on Between Two Geese. We are happy to do so. And I say that with all sincerity because I love this part of what we do every day. So, Matt, where can people find us?
Well, I think we actually have a slide for that. So there's, Veeam's going to have some upcoming shows where we're going to be at. You yourself will actually be at the RSA conference. That's coming up, 2 weeks from now. So if you want to see Tyler in person and you happen to be there, make sure to go find him, do some goose talk. Maybe if you honk, he'll honk back at you. Veeam is also going to have, Veeam will also have a large presence at Nutanix.next. So be on the lookout for the booth there. We got some sign-up links available here. But yeah, stay tuned for more. Oh, and one last thing. VeeamON. If you go to veeamon.com, we've got some dates announced for what VeeamON is looking like this year. So lots on the go. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Tyler, any closing words?
No, maybe a closing honk or two, but appreciate everybody for tuning in today. I love to go through everything, and we will see you next time here on Between Two Geese.
Thanks, all.